Well, welcome to this very successful satsang. Namaste. Feeling a bit giggly, so fair warning. So today I wanted to address the topic of meditation, and something I've spoken about before, but it's so fundamental to our own awakening process and our own awakening success that it really does sort of bear talking about again. And there is a question that came in, which I'm going to read out because this question is fundamental to what I'm going to say, and it will be a good illustrative question to use. So this question was emailed in, and I'll start by reading this. It says, "Hi, Helen. My question is about the satsang, the greatest gift. I often experience that bliss that you are talking about. I can deal with emotions. In fact, I hardly have any negative ones. Anxiety, anger, depression are almost gone. And if they appear, it doesn't last long thanks to those meditations I practice. However, it is quite a challenge to focus on being aware of awareness, or being the space, the silence, when my body hurts, or when I am sick. If I have a headache or an upset stomach or a cold, I find it difficult to focus on being the noumenon. How can we focus on being aware of the pain in the body? It is not so much that I care about the pain, but it bothers me that I can't focus on anything else, like the space, the silence, etc. When my body hurts, the bliss is gone. The Buddha had pain in his back and could hardly walk, but it didn't bother him." So here is this question's illustrating a fundamental challenge that we all have in meditation. We all have things that are going on in our life, in our experience. If we sit down to meditate right now, we would have certain things that we can ignore, for example, and bring attention to the stillness, the silence, the awareness, as this person is calling it, the noumenon, whichever name, it doesn't really matter. And then there are things that happen in our experience that we wouldn't feel we could ignore. And the whole challenge here that I want to really talk about is what to do in these particular circumstances. When something happens, so some sensation in the body, some strong emotion, and it's great for this person that they're not feeling so much negative emotion anymore, but the fundamental challenge still exists for them, that they find there are times when attention goes to a sensation, a phenomenon, and it seems challenging, if not impossible, to bring attention back to awareness in that moment. And whatever it is that arises for us that we feel we can't do that with is different for each of us. So it might be an emotion. It might be when we're having interaction with a certain being. It could be physical pain, as in this situation, or some illness in the body. It could be something financial, some conflict in a relationship. It could be something we read on the news, the situation, something going on in the world. It doesn't matter what it is per se, but we all have something that we find our attention is brought away from what's permanent and stable and real. So I want to really look into that right now. Practice, what do we actually do in those moments? And, in terms of meditation, this can serve to beautifully illustrate that meditation might not be exactly what we thought it is. It might actually be even simpler than what we recognized it to be. So right now, if we take a very simple example of your body, right now you're aware of your body. If you just check in, you can notice that your body is present, whether your body is feeling comfortable or uncomfortable, whether it's feeling good or bad. if it's hungry or full, sleepy, whatever is going on in your body, we can begin to recognize that you're aware of your body, and the awareness and the body must be happening at the same time. So the body present and the awareness of the body must be happening at the same time. So it's fundamental to begin to understand that the challenge we have in our meditation is that the mind is saying, which do I put my attention on? The pain, the body, or the awareness? And this seems like a very real decision for the mind to make. And it feels it has to choose either or. So do I listen to the sound of my thoughts, or do I listen to the silence? Do I notice the movement of some energy within my body, or do I notice the stillness? Says mind. And it's coming from this fundamental concept, idea that the two are different things. There actually are two different things here. The awareness is different than the body, and I have to choose which one to put my attention on. But right now, if you just recognize, you know your body is here, that knowingness has to be happening at the same time. Could it be even simpler? Let's take another example, and we'll do a little guided meditation after this, just to hopefully illustrate how much easier this is. So let's imagine there is some pain in the body. We can all, maybe there actually is some pain right now in your body, or maybe there's a particular place in your body where there's some tension. Is there a muscular ache or an itch? And if not, you can just focus on some part of your body, focus on your hand or your knee or something, put attention on that. And noticing that as your attention goes to that part of your body, there is also awareness present to get that feedback. So if I look at my hand, awareness is there as I'm looking at my hand. If I'm noticing some tension, the awareness is noticing the tension. And begin to break it down and recognize, at first it seems like either or. But in practice, in reality, it gets more and more understandable that the awareness and the knee are the same thing showing up two different ways, awareness and the hand. If we look at a thought, because thoughts are often the things that seem to pull our attention away from the awareness. Whenever I notice a thought present, the noticing must be there. The noticing must be there also. So if I have a thought pass through my awareness, there must be some faculty that knows it's passing through. So the knowing, the awareness, and the thought are happening at the same time, at the same one thing showing up two different ways. Awareness can show up as awareness or a thought. And it's only if we're sure that they're two different things that this either or question comes. Which one do I put my attention on? And a lot of the meditative practice that I teach is aimed at bringing attention back to the awareness. As we do this more and more, we're going to come to see in the end that it doesn't matter where I put my attention, whether it's on the thought or on the awareness, whether I'm aware of awareness or aware of a thought, there is still awareness. We could apply that universally, whether I'm aware of a sound outside, like has just happened. We can only hear that sound because there was awareness present. Something is listening through my ears. You can only hear these words because awareness is listening. As we begin to think like this, understand like this rather, something begins to happen in our meditation, a softening, that the phenomena that arise begin to be signposts back to the noumenon, the awareness, the silence in which they're happening. So can I allow a sound like has just happened, or a sound in my head, a thought, to point me back, to recognize the sound and then recognize that something's recognizing? Does it have to be either or? Does it have to be one or the other? Or can I cultivate a habit of hearing a thought and then hearing that I'm hearing the hearing? This is a kind of different way to think about meditation, because our brain wants to divide the world into two categories, phenomena and the noumenon. And I'm supposed to be listening, noticing the noumenon, and the phenomena are just getting in the way, mind says. And if I could just get rid of them all, or somehow keep my attention only over here on the noumenon, the awareness, then I would be able to meditate fully. But maybe it's even simpler than that. So in any moment, my awareness is either focused on a phenomenon, a sensation, a thought, a sound, outside, inside, an experience, another being. These are all phenomena that I think I'm seeing, or it's focused on itself. So in any moment, awareness is either aware of itself or aware of a phenomenon. And all that's happening my entire life, all through my waking state, is it switching from looking at a phenomenon back to looking at itself, in, out, or out, in, out, in. And do we have to police that so completely, or can we kind of just chill out a bit more and say, I can use every time my attention drifts to a phenomenon, a thought, an emotion, a sensation, pain, whatever is going on in our body, in our mind, in our emotions, in our environment. Can I also notice then that there's something noticing? Can I train myself, build a habit to kind of notice what that space, what that phenomenon is happening in the space, the contextual fields, we've called it. Attention is going to go and look at the objects. That's what it does. A thought arises in our mind. Awareness will look at it out of habit. Nothing wrong with that. We're only going to feel conflicted if we think we have to do one or the other. And maybe it's just a lot simpler than that. So let's do a little meditation here, just 10, 15 minutes. And if you can, just try to stay with me. See if you can just kind of not drift off into a nice deep state, at least not initially, so that you can really grasp what I'm talking about here. So let's start very, very simply. Right now, you're aware of these words that I'm speaking. And these words that I'm speaking are coming in through your ears, and something is giving them meaning. And can you just notice these words and then notice that you're noticing? Something is aware of these words, isn't it? Something is aware also of what your eyes are seeing, the image, the phenomenon on the screen. However, you're watching this. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. If a thought arises in your mind, notice the thought and then notice that you're aware of it. So just like this, we're not fighting anymore. When attention goes, when awareness goes to look at something, it's okay. You can't and you don't have to stop that. It's going to go and look at a thought, isn't it? Or if an emotion was to arise or a sensation in your body, awareness will notice that sensation, that emotion. And then you can, whenever you recognize, but I'm also aware of it, there's awareness of it. And then just allowing some space, whatever happens next in your experience. And wherever attention goes, wherever awareness goes, it may listen to a dog barking outside. It may pay attention to a thought in your head, to a sensation in the body. And it doesn't matter where it goes. What if those just served to emphasize that there is awareness here also? So can you just relax a bit more here with me and allow the awareness to look at whatever it wants to look at, whether that is itself. I'm aware that I'm aware. I'm noticing there's awareness. Or I'm aware of a thought. My mind is thinking. My mind is confused. If you have an epiphany, an aha moment, mind, attention, awareness will go to look at that. And then we can also confirm there is awareness too of it. And we're just not battling anymore here. We're not trying to control anything. We certainly don't have to police and patrol. We can just relax. Wherever awareness goes, maybe the body's starting to feel nicer, happier. You can notice that. And then recognizing I'm also aware there's awareness of my body and how it feels. You cannot have one without the other. And maybe our meditation becomes this beautiful dance of noticing a phenomenon and then having it reaffirm the noumenon, the awareness. What if it just became effortless like that? I notice a bird singing, and I notice that I'm hearing the bird singing. And there's no struggle here, there's no choosing, no conflict. Just a clearer and clearer understanding that awareness is always here. And what it's looking at is just whatever it's looking at. Maybe looking at a thought, a memory, a desire, a goal, an emotion, a conversation. And whenever we recognize, we can simply bring awareness back to notice itself afterwards. Meditation is really just the backwards and forwards of awareness. Sometimes it's looking at something. Sometimes it's looking at itself. Whether I'm aware of thoughts passing through my head, or aware of sounds in my environment, aware of a strong emotion, or aware of awareness. At all times, there is awareness. What it's looking at will change. But the looking itself, the listening, the looking, the experiencing is constant. So see if you can just relax for a few minutes now here. Let awareness wander wherever it wants to go. And wherever it goes, whether it looks at phenomena, or it looks at itself, you can simply recognize it's always here. So whatever happens while we're meditating is just the next phenomenon, the next object that awareness will notice: a thought, an itch, a cramp, a sound outside, thoughts inside. Even the thoughts are helping me see that I'm aware of them. It doesn't matter now whether the mind is full or empty. I'm aware of these. You are aware of these words, and then you are aware of no words. There isn't any goal here. Just clearer and clearer each time we meditate, with our eyes open or closed. But you, the awareness, are always constant. You're effortlessly here as the awareness all the time. So just allowing wherever awareness wanders to, or if you prefer the silence, whatever silence is listening to, it might be listening to itself or listening to a thought. The listening itself is silent. And there's a quiet peace that comes from putting down this either orness. We don't have to choose. If a pain arises in the body, of course, awareness will go to look at it. If a thought arises, of course, awareness will go to look at it. And quite naturally, it will come to look at itself by simply recognizing there is awareness here. So if you have your eyes closed right now, I would like to invite you to open them just to see that you can also notice the awareness even with your eyes open. I know you may not want to open your eyes, but it is a useful thing to do. Wherever your eyes look at, your eyes are reporting to the awareness. I'm always seeing, whether I'm seeing a phenomena out there, phenomenon, or in here, a thought, an emotion, or an experience. I'm always seeing it. So I hope this has helped you to look at meditation perhaps in a different way. When I really began to understand this, it simply became effortless. Effortless that throughout large parts of my waking state, throughout large portions of my day, awareness was looking at something, usually thoughts, emotions, some phenomenon. And does it matter if we don't have to stop that? We can just notice that awareness was still present and looking at these thoughts. And it doesn't matter whether it was looking at them for 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 days, it was still equally here. And no matter what it goes to look at, it remains constant and unchanging. And in this way, we're being aware of the phenomenon and the awareness together. And in this way, our meditation becomes much more effortless and simple and utterly enjoyable. And you can't get it wrong. Whether awareness looks at a thought, an object, an emotion, a karmic pattern for 2 or 3 days, it doesn't matter. It's going to come back eventually to look at itself, isn't it? It's going to recognize, you're going to recognize at some point, oh, I was focused on a phenomenon. The moment you have that recognition, you're back to being aware of awareness. And where is it written that you should be able to bring and notice awareness immediately, bring attention back? Do you have to? So some things I could immediately notice I was aware of awareness to. Some things my attention would stay on a thing for a very long time before I recognize that. Does it make any difference from here? Any phenomenon that arises in your experience can be an aid to meditation. Most of all, our thoughts, our emotions, our karmic patterns. So give it a go in your own time And you can, of course, listen to this again. There are meditations on the YouTube playlist on my channel, and just see if you can chill out and relax a bit more. You can't be aware of a phenomenon without the awareness being there. You can't be aware of pain in the body without awareness to notice it. Could it be a whole lot simpler than we've been realizing? I can see some smiles, so I'm guessing that's a yes. Okay, I will read, we'll try another question here, and then I'll open it up for questions. Okay. This one says, I do have a question about beliefs. If I am remembering correctly, when someone was talking to you about a limiting belief, such as, I can't get what I want, in response to disprove, your response was to disprove that belief. Let me start that sentence again. Sorry, it's my dyslexia, not the way it's written. If I'm remembering correctly, when someone was talking to you about a limiting belief, such as, I can't get what I want, your response to disprove that belief was, if you are one with everyone, then you do get to experience it because some other people may be experiencing that particular thing that you want. Is that what you meant? My question is, how is that going to help? Because while it may be true that someone else is experiencing what I want, it is still not my experience. I got there in the end. So, yes, you've understood, I think, if I interpret correctly what you're saying. Let's say you really want to be awakened, or you really want to have a lot of peace, and you feel that you don't have it. You really feel that you don't have that thing that you're looking for, whether it's awakening, a new job, some money, peace, bliss, whatever that is. And you really feel that you don't have it. So in the situation I was pointing out to someone, is that 100% true? If you're noticing someone in your experience that has what you want, so if you're looking at me and saying, she has what I want and I don't have it, then can you say that with 100% certainty when I am you? Can you still say with 100% certainty, I don't have it? What you can say with 100% certainty is that this body and mind is not currently experiencing it. But if I am everywhere, then I am experiencing peace, awakening in some bodies, just not in this one. That's what you can say with certainty, isn't it? So I was just saying that to kind of pry open the absolutely shut door on this belief that I don't have it. And when we can pry open a little hole, then there's, wedge that door open a little bit, then there's room for reality to come through. And we can say, of course, I would like to experience it in this body mind too. So if I am everywhere, even if I only know that theoretically, if I'm not just this person here, I am everywhere, then if I see someone out there in my experience, experiencing what I want to experience right now, if I see it out there, it must also be possible in here. If all of this is me, and I'm experiencing what I want in some of the bodies, it must be possible here for me too. If in here and out there are the same one being appearing everywhere. So that it helps to kind of begin to recognize that. And then we can begin to understand that, okay, it must be possible for me to feel how I want to feel, to experience what I want to experience. Why isn't that happening? And then we can come to look at this idea that I can't get what I want. Maybe I am so convinced that I am not feeling peaceful right now that it cannot actually show up. Maybe my expectation is that peace, my absolute certainty is that peace is absent right now. Therefore, I'm experiencing it being absent. So I'll say things like that to kind of open this door a little bit, and then we can go deeper into some contemplation and look at that. So you can't absolutely say that you don't get what you want, because you're getting it in some bodies. And of course, you want to feel it in your body, the body that sent in that question. But just to realize it's not 100% true, the statement that I am not experiencing peace right now. Not in one particular body, but here is where we keep the separation going. And here is where we can open a doorway into peace. Other bodies are feeling it in me, so it must be possible for me. Why do I think it's impossible? And am I going to keep believing that it's not here right now? Because maybe that is the thing that's perpetuating this whole cycle. What if it's here, but I'm actually recreating the experience of being disturbed over and over again because I'm so convinced that peace is absent? So I hope that helps with that question. If anybody would like to ask a question or to share some breakthrough or their experience in meditation, feel free to raise your hand. Okay, we'll start with Sylvia.
Hi, Helen. Can you hear me?
I can. Yep. It's a little quiet. There we go. Lovely.
Is it better?
Yeah, should be. Yeah, should be good. Thank you.
So, yes, now I can see me.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
What you have just discussed, I would just like to, if you can give me some clarity. So, consciousness constantly move from the formless to form. It's really like constant movement.
Yeah.
Am I correct to say that there is, let's say, spontaneous way or consciousness made any choice whether to choose the form or choose to look at itself? But I think there is also some kind of an habitual movement into the form.
Yes.
So that I think we discussed this on a previous satsang, that because we have a precondition or we learn this in a life, we are like on autopilot, automatically prefer, if I can put this word, to be shaped into the form.
Yeah.
So, and how do I know what is the correlation? Because of course, I would like to drop the habitual things and let just things be. But it's difficult to see whether it is autopilot or it is a choice of the conscious. I don't know if I'm clear.
Well, you're very right. There is conditioning, a belief even that form is more important than formlessness, to the point where we start this awakening journey not even aware that there is formlessness, and attention solely going to form, usually thoughts, the content of our thought stream. And it doesn't really matter whether it's coming from autopilot choice or whether attention is just kind of wandering backwards and forwards, like we were saying, awareness to form, formless form. When it's coming from a habit, it will tend to feel bad. It will come with some contraction in the body. So some thought arises and I feel like I've got no choice but to go and look at it. Some emotion I will feel, but I will have to resist it. When it's coming from just the free flowing, wherever awareness wants to go-ness of it, it will feel equally peaceful if I use my awareness to really look at the next thought that comes up, really look at it, not resisting that thought, not saying it shouldn't be there. If I really just look at a thought, I can feel blissful, actually. Same as I feel when I'm noticing awareness. So if I'm feeling really, really good, it's coming from this spontaneous movement of the awareness, which I think you were pointing to.
Mm-hmm.
But more and more you'll find, as you don't police your awareness so much, you don't say it should be over here and never over here. It tends to kind of focus on itself more and more anyway. It tends to naturally come back to rest, noticing itself, or just noticing nothing at all. Just moments where you feel empty, just peaceful, quiet, empty, still. And when it does have to go and look at a thought or an emotion or something like that, as soon as it's done with that, it will come back to rest, looking at itself anyway. I don't know if that kind of helps you to.
Well, yes, it does. Certainly, when you said that I have to watch the feedback of the body work or the reaction of the body, this is very helpful.
You
I
notice it very, very, you probably experience this. Let me just sort of illustrate it with a very simple thing. Let's say you have a pain in your shoulder or something.
Mhm.
While that pain is there, attention, awareness will go and look at it very often.
Yes.
But at some point, it will stop doing that. It will just automatically stop doing that. Usually, when the pain is gone or something, it just goes back to its natural, it's not interested in that anymore. It goes back to noticing itself. Or when a karmic pattern arises that you're currently contemplating, working with, something like that, awareness will look at that karmic pattern, spend a lot of time looking at it over a couple of days or weeks. And then it will naturally, once it's resolved, come back to sit more inside itself.
Well, it's usually, for example, I have a pain in the shoulder, so you were right on spot.
That's a bit spooky, yeah.
So exactly what you said when we had this meditation at the beginning, that I was completely open, and I noticed that there is a preferences of the, or let's put it, that the pain was uh, calling for attention very frequently. And then awareness was there as well, watching it. And that was fine because there was like constant movement, but then appeared a thought like, move your position, how long it will still take. And then as soon as I do not engage into this kind of thought, it's just slowing down the movement between the conscious focusing and defocusing.
Yeah.
And these things happen, for example, when I am in walking in the nature and it's beautifully going to from the space to the object, a tree or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I am in daily life, I still see that there is a lot of leaning toward this autopilot, and I can notice this only afterwards. I would like to know it
Do
in
you
advance.
do you have to completely stop this autopilot to feel peaceful? That's the idea that's troubling you now, isn't it? That when this habitual focusing on form, this obsession that we have with form has gone, then I'll be peaceful.
It's usually like that when I am in the object. It's much less pleasurable than when I am defocused.
But is that less pleasurable? Is that happening because you're looking at an object? Or is it because somewhere underneath all that is the idea that you shouldn't be focusing on this?
I think.
Yeah. So when you're in it, go into it. I actually tried this and proved to myself that I can feel just as peaceful even when the mind is totally busy or the body's in pain or whatever's going on. Sometimes some of these karmic patterns, we need awareness, does need to spend quite a bit of time looking at it. But we'll only have a diminishment in our joy and our bliss and our peace if we're saying, I should not be looking at this right now. I should be able to, because in that should not, we've divided ourselves into two. We have a preference in that moment. And where's the place after preference or before preference where it's a very matter of fact, I'm either looking at something or I'm looking at nothingness. And when I don't put anything else after that, when I don't say I should not be looking at something, you try it out, you'll feel completely, you'll just lose the struggle instantaneously. It will just fall away.
Yeah, because there is a resistance of the moment.
Yeah. This moment is not, I am not, awareness is not how it should be in this moment. It's about the most painful thought you can entertain.
Mm-hmm.
Reality, what we're saying in effect is reality is not how it's supposed to be in this moment. But if you're looking at something, so what? And then later you'll be looking at nothingness. So what? And then later you'll be looking at something and back and forth and back and forth. It's just a thought that says that has to stop, that back and forth has to stop before I'm awakened.
It's just that I have absolutely no problem to be completely passive and let the move consciousness do whatever they want. But I am then maybe somehow, I don't know if it's confused, that I still think that there is some kind of habit, even if I have a free time, that instead of give attention to the background, I leaning more toward the object.
Can you hear the either orness in the sentence you just said?
Yes.
So I lean towards the object and then notice I'm leaning and I'm immediately zoomed back out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So much simpler than. So if I sit to meditate, I'm being aware of awareness, and I'd sit for 20 minutes to meditate, probably about 150 times in that 20 minutes, awareness is going to look at something, usually a thought or some judgment or something, right? Or some sensation in the body. Maybe that's 150 opportunities to say, and I'm also aware of this phenomenon right now. Maybe that's what meditation can be.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe only when we really sort of get this, will this habitual zooming into the phenomenon sort of dissipate. It's kind of paradoxical that when I finally don't care where my awareness is, what it's looking at, it comes to rest looking at itself. And it realizes whether I'm looking at form or formless, it's all formless.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like, okay, do whatever you want to, go play, take in the world and all of that stuff.
Okay.
Can you notice a phenomenon
Yeah.
without the awareness there?
I see what you're saying. Yes, and it's you're right that there is still like a backdoor doer who sneaked into to have the things under control.
See, mind doesn't like this because mind says, yes, but I've got no job to do then in meditation. There's nowhere to head towards, there's no goal, but when you get this, it's like, it's just very, very simple in that whether I'm looking at something or looking at awareness itself, there's awareness constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what meditation is rather than what we think, and then ultimately we have the understanding that comes that form is just formlessness shaped into some look like something anyway. So there's nowhere I could put my attention that isn't the awareness. Here's awareness looking like a thought. Here's awareness looking like a physical pain. Here's awareness looking like fear, feeling like fear. Here's awareness looking like a planet. Here's awareness looking like a human being. So all the time, everywhere, at all times, impossible not to, I'm noticing awareness. Then that might not be concretely cemented inside yet, but you can see this is what comes from this understanding we're talking about, what meditation is, maybe.
Okay. All right. I'll try to follow your guidelines. Thank you.
I'll try to relax. Yeah, I'll try to chill
I
out.
try to do nothing.
Yeah, lovely. It just takes a little. It's just a little. Okay, I'm just going to chill out. Just to. Am I trying too hard right now, or something like that? When you're meditating.
Like I finally take a life holiday of doing nothing.
Yeah, you're allowed to take a vacation. Okay, everyone is from policing attention.
Thank you very
Lovely,
much. Thank you.
lovely. Chadwick. So we'll take Chadwick and Christina, and then we'll leave it there for today. Christina, yeah, sorry. Whenever you're ready, Chadwick. Here we go.
Hi, Helen. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
You took the words out of my mouth. Very well indeed. Thank you. Just a couple of observations to share with you a little bit, and a question if I have time.
Uh-huh.
One was just you used the word spooky. Magic is another one that can spooky magic, perhaps. Just that my experience today in my body waking me up. I'm here in North America, where it's mighty early, and I had intention to. I felt called to be here, and my body woke me up, and I found myself sitting. It's interesting, in encountering your teachings, meditation was something that I've realized had been something I was really called to do a lot, 2 to 3 hours a day, and really feeling like a relationship with it that you've pointed to, in that it felt like sort of I even referred to it sort of as a battery of sorts, like an ability to kind of have an experience, if you will, that served me to have a foundation as I encountered the things that I would encounter throughout the rest of the day. But it's just really interesting how that's just really shifted and dropped in a way that I think this meditation pointed to. And it was really very resonant for me today, in that I sat for about 20 minutes before, and you literally, the moment you started speaking, it just was exactly the thing that was on my heart and my experience in that sit. And it really points to my experience of meditation coming off the cushion and being one of, yes, exactly as you're pointing to, the awareness, the silence, the juxtaposition, the paradox of the one pointing to the other, and it not being limited to the cushion.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of gratitude for encountering your teachings, being part of the crew of beings that are being drawn to you, and really experiencing that in a tangible way. Another thing that I wanted to point you to, actually, this points back to your last satsang on the absoluteness of labels, and having had that own my own seeing and knowing of that, but also being really presented with that through the experience of my father, who has dementia and experienced aphasia as a very significant symptom, if you will, or experience that he's having. And that's the dropping of words, but it really, in my understanding of the way that this is understood, is that the brain's actually losing its ability to have labels about things. So even the way that he would encounter initially a fork, for example, there would be a knowing of how to use a fork, and then suddenly, like, the experience of kind of discovering that fork and trying to understand it. But just to see his impact, his power, he shines like a 1,000-watt bulb in so many ways for those beings that are around him. He's one of the people that people love to care for. You can count me and my whole family and anybody that he's encountering in that regard. But really recognizing that for some, they are in a place to see diminishment, like to see that he is so different than he used to be. Mm-hmm. And even in his states where I call it the dementia dimension, if you will, where he's either super clear and present, or he's in a different place. And my sense of that place is very familiar. Actually, it feels like he is completely absorbed in the noumenon, in the experience of what's going on. And some would see that as being checked out or unavailable or something, but it's just not my experience within him and spending time with him. And anyway, I just thought I'd point to that as an experience that really resonates with that talk. And I did have a question for you, if you care to spend a little time with it, about your experience as an entrepreneur and your experience within business, and within how that evolved for you, and just your experience with goal setting. You've commented on this in some of your satsangs before. Having had this experience myself with being called to be serving family, to be caring for my dad, or in other ways, and also being involved in business, feeling in a way that's really difficult to explain to some, I suppose, like an incredible peace and a feeling of being lifted and an abundance all over the place. And at the same time, having, business dreams or ideas that, me and my partner, my wife, would have had stated, we're really dancing with it all. But at the same time, looking to remain open to the dreams and manifesting the things that were really being called for. I just thought you've mentioned it before, but if you care to comment at all, I'd appreciate that.
Oh, that's a big question, and it's really been this particular business is still technically a business, but it has been a whole. I've had run many businesses over my lifetime. This one has been extraordinarily different in that I've had to move to a different place with it, so that all decisions that need to be made are being made from how they feel inside, rather than a logical thought process. And that has also made me have to kind of embrace the self-love, that the whole thing doesn't work without loving myself. And I've proved that to myself experientially over and over again here with this work. I say work, it's not really work, but for the want of a word. So from being completely focused on writing a business plan, goal setting, all of that stuff, vision boards, dream boards, all of it, went through this whole cycle of, okay, let me throw all that stuff out. It's just going to grow as it's growing, and I'm not going to do any of that stuff. And I'm just going to be the silence, and then back around to some kind of beautiful dance in the middle where we'll have some kind of plan. I'll have a vision of how I'd like it to expand, with a knowing underneath that that's just going to happen anyway. And I'm just, as a human being, I also have the capacity to imagine, to visualize, and there's nothing that says that is wrong to do or anything. And just helping to shape and sculpt where the manifestation is going for it anyway. That there's a coming right back around to full circle with it, actually, in terms of what I want for this to grow, this Sangha, this teaching, all of it is what's trying to happen anyway. The more I want it, the more it's going to happen. And, the more I want it without any beliefs it can't happen, the faster it grows. You can feel that when you're in that place yourself, that your role, your right, your responsibility, none of those words are 100%, but it is to dream. What do you want from this? What would you like to see come of this? What do you want to, when this body's done, where do you want to hang out? What do you want to have achieved? That type of thing in that. So I'm not sure if I've addressed your question there, but hopefully.
No, I love that. It's very resonant, and yeah, I love you. Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely. Good to talk to you. Last but not least is Christina.
Hi, Helen.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, sort of. I've been, I'm really happy I found you. A lot of things that you say, it's really so helpful to me. So I'm
good.
I'm very, very thankful.
Glad to have you.
I have a question, and I've had it for some time. It's about I've really been focusing on the being in the now, but I also noticed that I have this fear of the future going on in relation to some of the current injections that is taking place. So many people warn, and that's what I've been listening to. What can happen? And my dear husband, he actually took this injection. So now I'm fearful of being with him, and I don't really know how to deal with it. And also, all those unpleasant thoughts about it. And I also just listened to your recent video about illness and how that is related to people's beliefs and undealt emotions. And it was so powerful to hear it. I just wondered if those injections is related to people all of a sudden experiencing these undealt emotions. Is that how we could see it? I don't know if the question makes sense to you.
Yeah, I think so, but correct me if I'm going, if I'm not getting it. So whatever happens in our experience is going to be determined by our thoughts and our deeply held beliefs about things. So two people could experience the same event, the same thing, have the same thing happen, and they would experience it very differently based on whether they're holding any thoughts or, and you can say this about humanity as a whole. If 600 or 6,000 people experience the same thing, if we took 6,000 people to watch a movie, and at the end of the movie, I said, okay, tell me about the movie, there would be 6,000 different interpretations of it. So our interpretation of our experience is going to be colored by what thoughts we're holding on to. So whenever I feel fear, if I can come to see that the fear is, my mind is saying the fear is about this thing out there. So in this case, the situation with your husband, I think you said.
Yeah.
But maybe there's something deeper going on. Maybe I still believe on some level that I'm not safe, that I'm in danger, or that I could be hurt, something like that.
Mm.
So if you can sort of look at the emotion that's being felt and for a moment step away from what mind says, which is I'm scared of this thing out there, or I'm scared of, if we just stop at scared and contemplate deeply the idea behind that, can you, as the real formless intangible self, be hurt or be in danger? Can you come to, can something affect you in that way? As you begin to question like this, you can have the same thing happen and you have a very different experience of it. Very different experience of it. So you go through the same thing, but with a peace and an equanimity as before. So that's the first thing I want to say. And then the second thing is I really start to get the fact that I cannot be hurt, killed, destroyed, or affected at all by anything because I am formless. Then this knowingness begins to envelop, cocoon, protect my body too. My body is a representation of me. I've made a little clay figure of myself, put all my beliefs into it, so to speak. So my absolute knowing that I am safe and have always been is going to begin to protect. It is already perhaps protecting the body. So even if you were to come into contact with something that is considered by others as harmful or unsafe, your body will have, you will also, and your body will have a different experience of it to most people as you really start to see this. Because it's not the thing out there that is actually affecting your body. It is what you think about the thing out there that's affecting your body. So
beliefs, yeah.
Yeah, so if I can come to see that I am safe and that nothing can hurt me and affect me, I begin to experience this with my body too. I won't stub my toe as much. I won't drop something on my foot as much. I won't accidentally walk into a wall, and I'm less likely to have anything, less and less as I see this clearer, to have anything negatively impact me in that way. An accident or something like that is actually not really an accident. It's a reflection and manifestation of this idea that I'm not safe. So as you come to see this clearer and clearer, it will help you to be with your husband more, because you begin to realize I'm only at the effect of what I think about what's going to happen, and never actually at the effect of the thing itself. And this is
Wow.
fundamental to understand this, isn't it? But it's not how we're taught. We're taught that this thing out there can affect me in here. And that's the cause of all this kind of struggle that's going on for you right now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
The energy field, the level of consciousness of a being who is waking up to the truth is already enough to protect them from things like that happening. And we haven't experienced it like that, of course, because we still believe on some level that we're not safe, hence the kind of fear. It just hasn't quite gone deep enough yet inside.
Wow. It's really good to hear, Helen. It's been really bothering me so much.
It's a very relevant thing to bring up at the moment, isn't it? And we all, I mean, I've had lots of questions like this. Everybody's free to choose what to do with their bodies and all of that. And we don't have to be at the mercy of that. As long as we're examining our thoughts about it, then the highest and most powerful energy field always overrides everyone else's. So you could be the one being in the room, in the town, in the country that recognizes what they really are. And that puts your body in a bubble of protection, for want of a better word, where these lower frequencies, whether that's a physical thing or an emotion or a thought, they just can't penetrate that. In fact, these lower frequencies begin to get dissolved the moment they come into contact with this awakened field. That's what the presence does. It kind of neutralizes everything and turns it back into love in that.
Oh, wow. Can you speak a little bit more about how to be in that space? That's really what I've been searching for so long.
It's really, whether you do that through meditation like we did today on the Satsang, or whether you like a self-inquiry question, what really am I? Who am I? What is reality? Just sitting with the question. In reality, probably a bit of both. For me, it was, I really want to do some self-inquiry. I'll roll with this, or no, I just want to sit and be, I'm going to meditate and just be. And it was just like that. So whatever you feel pulled to do right now, whether that's meditation, self-inquiry, contemplation, reading a book, going for a walk, watching a funny movie, that's going to put you in the nicest feeling place. That's the highest energy field you're capable of in this moment, in that. Like right now, it's really nice to have this conversation. We're not resisting anything, are we, while we're talking like this? We're just enjoying this conversation.
Yeah. Yes. A little bit anxious. Anyway,
But there might be some of that too. It's okay.
Yeah.
But the point being is the more focused I am on what I really am, just a curiosity, what actually am I? And can I be hurt? Questioning these thoughts, can I be affected by something out there? This one thought is responsible for so much human suffering. If I walk outside now and go and interact with other beings, then my body is at the mercy of whatever I come into contact with, and it's not true. What's actually true is my body's at the mercy of whatever I'm thinking about. And most of those thoughts are unconscious to us. We only know that we're thinking them because we feel the emotion, because we're just so used to believing it to be true. So, hope that helps.
Thank you. Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you so much, Helen.
Good, lovely. Good to talk to you and meet you.
Yes, same to you.
Thank you. Okay, so we will leave it there for today. Thank you very much. Namaste.